What if the life you want already exists? You don't need to create a new future, you need to tune into it. Most people try to grind their way into a new life, and I tried that. But what if transformation is about identities, not about effort? So, right now, I am talking about stepping into your future self, or stepping in. Some people call it stepping into a new timeline, or some people call it entering a parallel reality. Now, there's this whole idea, this is quantum physics now that I'm talking about, and there's this whole idea that there's infinite possibilities that already exist, and that the reality that you experience depends upon the identity that you consistently embody. So instead of trying to force change, you shift your timelines by the way you think, by the way you feel, by the way you act. And as this version of yourself already has what you want. So you do this through focused intention, through meditation, emotional embodiment, aligned action. You can't just wish it all up, hope it all up. You have to act. So also through this focused intention, you begin to notice opportunities and synchronicities that reflect your new identity, and then your life gradually reorganizes around this. So again, this is quantum physics. This is all talked about in science. In simple terms, you don't create a new reality, you become the version of you who already lives in it. So there's this whole idea that all these infinite realities exist. So look at it this way. Your life basically reflects who you constantly are. If you think like an employee, if you feel limited, if you act cautiously all the time, you'll stay in that lane. But if you begin to think like an owner, you begin to feel capable, you begin to act aligned, your opportunities shift. Not magically, but strategically. Have you ever gotten dressed up and just changed your whole persona and tried to act and feel like a different person? That's what we have to do here. We have to step into the version of ourselves that we want to be, and do the things that we want to do, so that we can have the things that we want to have. So your reality, you can look at it like channels on a TV set. You know, the channel, it already exists. You don't really create it, you just tune into it. If you're watching the news, for instance, and it's bad news and it's just bringing you down, you change the channel to shift out of that. And it's the same thing with our reality. So we can literally shift the channel, if you will, and switch out of the present state that you're in into another state. And you do this just by shifting what you're thinking about. So meditation and mental rehearsal, basically you visualize the version of you that already has all the stuff that you want, that has the leverage, that's earning the residual income, the person that's calm, confident, and collective. But you don't wait for it, you embody it. That means you have to learn new skills. You got to do some things. You got to take some consistent action. You have to show up every day. And then what begins to happen is you get these small wins. Like you might get a positive comment, and then that's an indication that you're stepping into that reality. Back to my getting dressed up example, maybe you get dressed up and you go downtown, or you go to work. Maybe you work in an office and you totally dress up that particular day. You don't dress like you normally would dress. You dress like an executive instead of just like a worker. And then people will say, wow, you look good. You look like an executive. You're shifting into that timeline. So this, you just have to continue shifting in to that person that's living already on that timeline. So your action is the bridge. Visualization without action is just a fantasy. And I went through that phase where just do a whole lot of visualization, whole lot of meditation, but I took very little action. But when you start taking action, things start to happen for you. Sounds simple. Sounds okay, Mark. Yeah, okay, of course. But so many people just get stuck just wishing it up, hoping it up, trying to dream it up. But you got to make some moves. So you need both. You need action, but you don't want to burn yourself out either. So you have to show up daily. You got to show up when you're tired, when you don't feel like doing it. You got to show up. So the whole idea is to break out of this thing that I call the matrix and just shift. The matrix is not really a place. It's an identity. It's a version of you that runs on autopilot. Going to work, paying bills, rinse and repeat, just doing it over and over, year in, year out, decade in, decade out. So it's all about upgrading your self-image. Yes, so upgrade your self-image. That's what we're talking about here. Shifting your reality. The future you isn't sending mystical signals. It's calling you to act. You don't step into it. You don't wait for the timeline. You have to step into it. So if I'm making sense, like, subscribe, share. And part of this whole thing is just creating an alternate income source. And I have something, if you go to myconsciousturnkey.com. Again, myconsciousturnkey.com. This is where I combine your identity shift with habit tracking, with mental programming, and then a beginner-friendly residual income system. So if you're over 50, you don't need to start over. You just need to become and break out of this matrix. And if you're under 50, you can shave decades off of your evolution. So as always, and once again, myconsciousturnkey.com. And as always, peace, one love, and control your destiny.